Hello everybody. It is Thursday, the 19th of June, and I want to talk about whether Jesus was in contact with aliens, and yes, absolutely he was. I wasn't going to make a video this morning. Actually, I'm at the point where I say I don't want to make videos anymore. This is pointless. I'm up against the algorithms and they won't let me through because they serve a certain agenda and I'm going against it. But here, as I said, I wasn't going to make a video until I switched on the blinker machine and I watched Johns and Julianne this morning, and if there's one man in this world that can trigger me, it's him. So I was all calm and resigned to just get on with my life. I watched him and I found myself in complete turmoil. Right. Okay, let's get this again. What are we and what are we in? To see our truth, so we can stand in it, so we can stand in the light of our truth. Yeah? So John was talking about aliens. That's what brought the whole thing up. And I believe they're real. I do believe they're real. And he says, well, there are so many in this world that cannot see them. Or, that do not know. Now, he had the experience, other had the experience, but there's so many in this world that cannot see them. Why? Because they are caught or imprisoned in the matrix of their knowing. And again, he says it's a matrix that is built on thought, on rational thought, and they are trapped in, and here comes, nationality, consumerism, friendships, and they cannot get out of that prison. And here, ladies and gentlemen, that is how you tell a lie. That is how you deceive. That is the way, in that one sentence. Because if you do not use discernment, there is falsehood in there and there's truth. And they are mixed up. And if you do not use discernment to go through every point in that sentence, to separate the wheat from the tares, then you will swallow the whole thing as truth. And that's what the sheep do. They follow blindly. They have no discernment. I'll show you this. So if you think about a thought construct, or an artificial construct, something that is not natural, yeah? Nationality is absolutely an artificial construct. Yes. And it's been made a reality in the mind of the people. It's not real. It is something where old men came together and drew a line in the sand and say, this is a country. And I call this country the USA or Iran or Israel or whatever. And everybody that is inside of the confines of that line has to be a nationality, an American, an Israeli, an Iranian. And they have to think and feel according to their country. That is an artificial construct. And it serves. Because it's not human truth. It's not natural truth. Because if you go to war then, you can tell your people you are killing Iranians, or, Iranians, you're killing Israelis, or Americans, you kill anybody who's not American. And thereby bypassing the fact that you are killing another human being. But by sticking the label, the nationality on it, that truth is no longer there. You are killing another human being, and that is the truth. Consumerism. Well, I think consumerism is blooming because we are no longer in our truth. There's a void in us. A void that would be filled by the natural connections in this world. We crave love. We crave belonging, which again a country will not give you. It's a false belonging. But through the connections between us, that is truth. And that is, here comes friendship. So we are in consumerism because we're trying to fill that void with things, which is not working. The truth, and here comes friendship. That is not a thought construct. It's nothing to do with thought. That is a connection that is on a completely different level. There is true togetherness. That is truth. That is the truth of a human being. Those are the true connections between friends, between mothers and children, siblings, spouses. That is the truth. But here you go, that is how you deceive. You line a lot of things that are a deception and you just throw the truth in there. And as I said, sheep without discernment, they will not look at the separate parts. And yes, separate the wheat from the tares. It's not all the same. Anyway, so, and here comes, it is a shift out of what we know. Now, there are things we should shift out of. Absolutely, the false identities we should shift out of. That are political, that are religious, they are false identities. To stand, to bring it down, to riddle it down to the truth of a human being. The true connections between us in this world, human to human, where we are naked of all other identities. We're just human. There's the truth. And then see each other. Reconnect to each other. Go back into the truth. Now, again, John again brought up this verse in John 14, verse 26. Let me read this again. Follow Jesus. Go the denial of self. Yeah. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and his wife and children and brethren and sister, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. That is the way of the cross. That is the denial of self. That is the denial of our truth. Our truth was given as laws. Well, guidelines really. They were more like guidelines. The Ten Commandments, they're like guidelines. They should guide you on your way through this life. Yeah? Now, one of the commandments clearly says you should honor your mother and father so that you may live long in the land that the Lord gives you. Yeah? So to have a long life on earth, you should follow all the commandments, but a long and joyful life on earth, you should follow the commandments. You should honor your mother and father. And here Jesus says the opposite. You should hate your mother and father. Yeah? So I looked that up on Google, and it said, and underneath the verse, it said, however, this verse is not meant to be taken literally. No, of course not. But rather as a form of hyperbole, which means exaggeration. It's exaggerated. Yeah? It emphasizes that following Jesus requires a level of commitment and prioritization and, hold on, a level of commitment and prioritization. All earthly relationships, even those of family. So you must prioritize. Sorry, I don't think I've copied that down right. Anyway, but what is required is you must prioritize Jesus above all earthly relationships, even those of family. So that is to say, again, if a commandment is being given, you do not stand in your own truth, in your own knowing, in the truth of this world. But you must prioritize, even if it seems evil unto you, as Joshua said. You must know it is of God and therefore it is good. So then it's not an exaggeration at all. I mean, even with the false identity of a nationality. Yeah, you send your son to war. You send your children to war. You sacrifice the lives of your children, or they sacrifice their own, to the false identity of a nation. Then you have put the nation before your own life, or the life of your son. You value it more. You prioritize the needs of the country before the life of your son. You prioritize the will of God, if you are in a religion, above the love for your family. Yeah, there are women that will do some, let's say, adulterous or something, do something wrong, and their own fathers will stone them because they love God more, and God commands that she should be stoned, so you do it. And there is you moving away from the truth, from the love, the natural love that should be there of a human being. That should be above all, and there should be no God above that truth. Yeah? I forgive my daughter. We will work through this. You want me to stone her, you can go to hell. That is what you should tell God. Anyway, but here comes, and okay, let's go back to the alien thing. And I think John is right. So many of us don't see them because we are in our truth. And you need to shift out of that truth. You need to deny your truth. Shift into another matrix. Because this world is built on our truth. You need to be not of this world. You need to shift out of that truth to know them. And yeah, follow Jesus. Here's the thing. I mean, this is a complete, you must hate your mother, father, stuff like that, is a complete turning on its head of the Ten Commandments. It's an inversion of the truth. I mean, completely flipped on its head. So many of the dark occultists do that. The Sabbateans did that. Yeah? Flip it on its head, and then through that you will go into great enlightenment. That is their path. Crowley and Hubbard and all those other, the dark occultists, they are doing the same thing. And again, we know about them, we think about it, we judge that as wrong. You shouldn't do that. You should not go the path of darkness. Yeah? But hey, if Jesus says it, it's enlightened truth. He's saying the exact same thing. He's not saying anything different. He has just flipped the truth on its head there, completely. So what does truth depend on then? Whose mouth it is coming out of determines whether it's truth or not? Is that what the truth is based on? Who's saying it? I don't think so. But we are being shifted away from our truth. We absolutely are. And that is a shift of consciousness. First of all, a shift of conscience. Because that is really what is happening. Again, once you let go, if you say all of these are false morals, and some of them are false morals, absolutely, I say you need to discern. There's wheat and there's tares. Get rid of the tares to see the truth. Yeah, boil it down to the truth. But you say it's all false morals. You let go of, tear down the entire structure. Tear down everything. Indiscriminately. Without any discernment. And you let go of the truth, of the relationships, of the connections between human beings. You're cutting yourself loose from that. Those connections are built on empathy. Empathy is one of the main carriers of energy between us. You cut loose of empathy. And those, again, that have no empathy, we call them psychopaths. They are psychopaths. That is not enlightenment. That is not greater. To let go of the truth of love your neighbor as yourself does not take you into greatness. It makes you a psychopath. But then you come to the point where Crowley said, what thou wilt is now the only law. Whatever you want. Why? Because there is no more accuser. There's nothing saying that anymore it's wrong. You've cut yourself loose from that. You do no longer know it as truth. You're free. You are free to do whatever you want because there's no more guilt. They do not feel guilt. Again, greatness, expansion of awareness. We've done away with the restrictions and we are now in greater awareness. Anything is possible now because we no longer know good from bad. There's nothing holding us back. Lunacy. Psychopaths. Now, again, back to the video of John. Said there are people saying that our leaders, our esteemed leaders in Israel and in America, they are in contact with those beings. Yeah, I would say they are. And they're doing their bidding. And they have become, much more important, they have become like them. Because that is how you know them. You become like them. You energetically go on to the same wavelength. You leave the wavelength of this world, which is made out of thought and emotion and judgment. You leave that construct and go on to a different wavelength. And you know them. Yeah? And they will give you knowledge that you can bomb this place to smithereens. And you will gladly do it. Because you have done away with the false morals of love your neighbor as yourself. You know, the one thing that was this, that imprisoned you. You were imprisoned in that. Let go of all those restrictions and know that you are God and you can blow to hell whatever you want. they've gone to hell. I mean, our esteemed leaders have gone to hell. They've become angelic, the mindless servants of that God, or whatever they are, aliens. So they've become, and the rest of the world is going there. Now, what we're dealing with, I really think what we're dealing with is a consciousness that is a predator. That is absolutely a predator. You say this world is a depiction of the heavens. We have predators in this world, as below, so above. Yeah? What is in this world might be a truth that is endlessly repeating itself everywhere else. You know it here, you should know it there. You should know it there. Things don't change. Straight up the same. And the same laws apply throughout all of creation. So let's say that's a predator. And I really think that for once, David Icke might have got it wrong. This picture of a spider in a web, I think is very good. Because what a spider does is, it does spin its web, and then it sits there and waits. It does not move. It does not move until the prey is in the web, caught. And I think that is exactly what is happening to us. When you say God is unchanging in the Bible, God does not change. God does not shift. God is sitting there in his web, waiting for us to fly into it, to become the prey. He is not changing, we are. We are shifting consciousness to bring us into the same reality as that God. And again, read the book of the Revelation. The truth of God was revealed. Then they will come and slaughter once we are in the same reality. Yeah? So this has got nothing to do with something physically flying through space. This is a shift of consciousness. And heaven is not coming here. They are not coming here. We are going there. They are standing there as a solid rock, unchanging. We are shifting out of our truth into theirs. And here's the thing. If you are off, you're becoming the truth of survival of the fittest. Knowledge was given to rule over. Anything that is beneath you is just prey, because you are elevated. That is the thinking of those creatures, that consciousness out there. People here come into agreement, which is fine as long as they are on the top of the food chain. But what if that reality breaks through and they find they weren't on the top of the food chain? There was something above them. So they have come into agreement with whatever is above can prey on what is below. And then they find themselves below. And then the same truth will stand. They will become the prey. Now, is this something that has to be global? That's the question. Yeah, we're saying the whole world is going to change, is it? Or is it only those that make the shift that will experience that reality? And will there be billions of people that are completely oblivious to that? Which, it would be a great thing, if we were oblivious to that. Maybe there will be something that we will see like a rapture. people will actually be sucked out of this reality or disappear or something. We had entire empires, like the Mayans. Where did they go to? We do not know why they are no longer there. They seemingly disappeared. I mean, Jesus himself was sucked out of this reality, what gloriously ascended to the heaven, to God in heaven. But is it going to be something like that? Then I tell you something, the only way out of it is to stand in your truth. Do not desire to know that heaven. Do not deny your truth. Stand in it. Let's hold on to one another. And that is not physical, that is friendship groups, family, the web of life. The truth of this world. Because denial of it will lead to destruction. I'm not making this up. That is the story in this book. When God comes, there will be destruction. We will be slaughtered. Those that know him will be slaughtered. So stop denying ourselves. Now, the last thought I had today, and that was, you shift consciousness, you let go of your truth, you know them. And they are not like us. They are not like us. And I would say, if you want to go up and down, it's a lower consciousness. They are definitely of a lower consciousness. Where are those that are like us? And if we are standing in our truth, will we know them? Those that value family, those that value friendship, those that love their neighbor as themselves, those that see themselves in a web in which everything gives and everything receives. Yeah, and everything plays some part in the construction of it all. Are they out there, and can we know them? But I think the only way we can is to go back to standing in our truth. We are on a different wavelength from ourselves somehow. We're shifting away from ourselves. We need to return home, we need to return to self. And then maybe there are others that are like us. And we could become part of a greater web, but not this way. Not through the denial of self and then become part of the glorious kingdom of psychopaths and demons. Anyway, here folks, I leave it at that for today. And I'm sure I'll talk to you again soon. Something will trigger me. Anyway, I'll talk to you then. Bye.